Hello, you're tuning in the English News Bulletin on QPVN channel. I'm Cho Nguyen, and now let me keep you up to date with the headlines. National Assembly deputies discuss tuition fee exemption. Preparation for the second Vietnam-Cambodia border defense friendship exchange discussed. Vietnam and Cuba strengthen healthcare cooperation. The Central Committee of the Communist Party of Vietnam, the National Assembly, the President, the government, and the Central Committee of the Vietnam Fatherland Front have decided to hold a state funeral for former President Trần Đức Lương on May the 24th and the 25th, 2025. Trần Đức Lương, former President of Vietnam and former Chairman of the Defense and Security Council, was born on May the 5th, 1937, in Phổ Khánh Commune, Đức Phổ District, now Đức Phổ Town, Quảng Ngãi Province. He resided in Hanoi. He joined the revolution in February 1955 and became a party member on December the 19th, 1959. He was a member of the party Central Committee of the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th tenors, Politburo member of the 8th and 9th tenors, permanent member of the Politburo of the 8th tenor, Vice Chairman of the Council of Ministers from February 1987 to September 1992, Deputy Prime Minister from October 1992 to August 1997, President of the Socialist Republic of Vietnam, Chairman of the Council for Defense and Security of the 10th and 11th terms, National Assembly Deputy of the 7th, 8th, 10th, and 11th tenors. After serious illness, despite dedicated care from the party, state, doctors, and his family, he passed away at 10:51 p.m. on May the 20th, 2025, at the age of 88. With more than 50 years of service, he made significant contribution to the party and the nation. He was awarded the Gold Star Order, the 65-year party membership badge, and many other honorable awards. His passing is a great loss to the party, state, people, and his family. The Party Central Committee, National Assembly, President, Government, and Vietnam Fatherland Front have decided to hold a national funeral in honor of the late official. The visitation will be held at the National Funeral Hall, number 5 Trần Thánh Tông, Hanoi, from 7 a.m. on May the 24th to 7 a.m. on May the 25th, 2025. The memorial service will begin at 7 a.m. on May the 25th, followed by the burial service at 3 p.m. the same day at his hometown cemetery in Phổ Khánh Commune, Đức Phổ Town, Quảng Ngãi Province. Under the chair of National Assembly Chairman Trần Thanh Mẫn, the National Assembly on the morning of May the 22nd was briefed on the draft resolution on tuition fee exemption and support for preschool children, school students, and students of general education programs at institutions in the national education system. On the afternoon of the same day, the National Assembly had group discussions on this content. The deputies highly appreciated the expansion of the subjects receiving tuition support, which demonstrates the humanity, responsibility, and great care of the party and state for the young generation, ensuring fairness in access to education and social security. The need to carefully assess the budget source for and fully forecast the impacts of the resolution was also raised. In addition, exemption and support of tuition fees must go hand in hand with improving the quality of education, investing in facilities, and incentives for teachers in difficult areas. Also on the morning of May the 22nd at the National War Cemetery on Route 9, Steering Committee 515 of Quảng Trị Province held a memorial and burial ceremony for the remains of 12 Vietnamese volunteer soldiers and advisors who laid down their lives in Laos, collected by Team 584 under Quảng Trị Military Command in Savanakhet Province of Laos during the dry season of 2024-2025. Senior Lieutenant General Võ Minh Lương, Deputy Minister of National Defense, Permanent Deputy Head of the National Steering Committee 515, attended the ceremony. In a solemn atmosphere, the delegates respectfully offered incense and wreaths to pay tribute to the heroic martyrs who sacrificed for the cause of national liberation, reunification, and noble international duty. Also on May the 22nd, Senior Lieutenant General Huang Sun-Qian, Deputy Minister of National Defense, chaired a session on the preparation for the second Vietnam-Cambodia Border Defense Friendship Exchange. Senior Lieutenant General Huang Sun-Qian praised the urgent working spirit of agencies and units in preparing for the exchange program. He asked relevant agencies and units to further promote the sense of responsibility for coordinating closely in preparation work and developing detailed plans. At the same time, they need to closely coordinate with Cambodia in building plans and boost dissemination work for the event. He stressed that the exchange program is of great significance, strengthening solidarity and friendship, promoting substantive cooperation between local authorities, people, and border protection forces of Vietnam and Cambodia, together building a border of peace, friendship, cooperation, and development, beefing up defense cooperation between the two countries, contributing to enhancing political trust, bolstering Vietnam-Cambodia cooperation. At the invitation of Ministry of National Defense of Belarus and the National Committee for Defense Industry of Belarus, a high-ranking delegation of Vietnam's Ministry of National Defense, led by its Deputy Minister, Senior Lieutenant General Lê Huy Viet, attended the International Exhibition of Arms and Military Equipment MILEX 2025 in Minsk from May the 20th to the 23rd. The event attracted the participation of more than 40 official delegations from nearly 30 countries, 150 defense and security industry enterprises of Belarus and such countries as China, India, Iran, and Pakistan, and displayed 750 models of armored vehicles, communications equipment, electronic warfare equipment, and many types of latest weapons. The visit to Belarus and participation in the MILEX 2025 by the high-ranking delegation of the Vietnamese Ministry of National Defense is the concretization of the agreements reached by the senior leaders of Vietnam and Belarus and the two ministries of national defense within the framework of the recent state visit of General Secretary To Lâm to Belarus. It is also in line with the policy of the two ministries of national defense to actively support and participate in multilateral international activities organized by each side, contributing to the strategic partnership between the two countries. The conference to mobilize international funding for overcoming post-war consequences in Vietnam in 2025 is scheduled for this early June and will be co-chaired by the leaders of the Vietnamese Ministry of National Defense and the U.S. Ambassador to Vietnam, with the participation of more than 20 countries and international organizations that are cooperating with Vietnam in the field of remediation of post-war consequences. The event is an important forum to discuss strategies, policies, plans, and coordination mechanisms in the settlement of post-war consequences in the new context, at the same time mobilizing international resources to serve the implementation of Program 504 in 2025 and related contents proposed by the parties. It also aims to boost dissemination to the international community and people at home on the efforts of the party, state, and Vietnam People's Army in overcoming the consequences of war, ensuring defense, security, and sustainable socio-economic development. Coming up next, Vietnam and Cuba strengthen healthcare cooperation. World Bank issues latest recommendations on institutional reform and green growth. From May the 17th to the 22nd, a delegation from the Vietnamese Ministry of Health, led by Deputy Minister Đỗ Xuân Tuyên, visited Cuba to enhance bilateral healthcare ties, particularly in biotechnology and pharmaceutical technology transfer. Deputy Minister Tuyên emphasized the visit's importance in advancing Vietnam's pharmaceutical sector. Healthcare cooperation between Vietnam and Cuba was founded during the time of President Ho Chi Minh and leader Fidel Castro. Over the years, both countries have worked closely in various areas, namely sending medical experts, training personnel, transferring technology, conducting joint research, and epidemic prevention. With strong capabilities in biotechnology, preventive medicine, and vaccine production, Cuba's Ministry of Health is eager to deepen collaboration with Vietnam's Ministry of Health for public well-being in both nations. At a meeting with First Secretary of the Communist Party of Cuba and President Miguel Díaz-Canel Bermudez, Deputy Minister Tuyên reported key outcomes, including potential collaboration in developing a family doctor model, eliminating mother-to-child HIV transmission, and applying biotechnology in medicine production in Vietnam. After the meeting, both sides signed a pharmaceutical cooperation agreement. Vietnam and Cuba share a traditional partnership in healthcare. We should expand cooperation in pharmaceuticals, training, and research, especially in vaccine and anti-cancer biologics development, to serve not only the Vietnamese but also Cuban people. A representative of BioCuba Pharma affirmed that Cuba would transfer biotech and pharmaceutical technologies while promoting R&D activities in Vietnam, opening a new phase in biotech and pharmaceutical cooperation between the two nations. At the invitation of Vietnamese President Luc Nguyen, French President Emmanuel Macron and his spouse will pay a state visit to Vietnam from May the 25th to the 27th, 2025. The visit is expected to open new prospects for future cooperation between the two countries. This visit holds special significance, especially after Vietnam and France upgraded their relationship to a comprehensive strategic partnership. It reflects France's strong commitment to deepening ties with Vietnam and offers a chance for both sides to align on practical and forward-looking steps for bilateral cooperation. The visit is a great opportunity to strengthen high-level political trust and send a strong message about Vietnam's and France's shared commitment to peace, stability, and development regionally and globally. It is also expected to boost people-to-people's ties, cultural exchange, and traditional friendship. Vietnam-France relations are rich and diverse, spanning all levels from heads of state to everyday citizens. There are also many important local-level partnerships, with around 10 agreements between French and Vietnamese localities. The civil society network between the two countries is strong, showing deep mutual affection and long-standing bonds. To realize the ambition to become a high-income country by 2045, Vietnam needs to focus on institutional reforms and green development. This is the recommendations given by the World Bank in two newly released reports on May the 22nd in Hanoi. According to the report, Vietnam 2045, Breaking Through Institutions for a High-Income Future, World Bank experts highlight the need to strengthen the legal and regulatory environment and streamline public investment to sustain the rapid growth required to meet this target. In my opinion, there are several aspects that Vietnam should focus on. Firstly, shifting from a control-based to a support-based mechanism. Secondly, fostering the private sector through institutional reform in a way that nurtures the development and creates a fair competitive mechanism so that they can thrive. Meanwhile, the World Bank's second report emphasizes that investing in climate adaptation will help minimize the impact of climate shocks on Vietnam's agricultural sector, businesses, and production facilities in Vietnam. Without adaptive measures, climate impacts could reduce the country's economic output by as much as 12.5% by 2050. Vietnam has established a comprehensive policy framework for emissions reduction. The first is to strengthen the effectiveness of implementing these policies. Secondly, Vietnam should strengthen its position in green supply chains. Thirdly, the country should better harness the potential of solar energy. The two World Bank reports are part of the Vietnam 2045 research series, focusing on analyzing the key policy and investment choices that Vietnam needs to implement to achieve its long-term development goals. And that's all for now. Remember, you can always watch the news again at QPVN.vn. Well, thank you for watching and hope to see you next time.